Hey We Stories friends and fam, this is Laura. Something a lot of people don't know about me is that before starting We Stories, I really hadn't done very much fundraising. What I've come to learn along the way is that people give from their hearts, which is why we often make our pleas for fundraising with great stories about the impact that we're having. But I've also learned that what trips people up and stops them from giving is really questions that are lodged in their mind. So in true We Stories fashion, where we don't shy away from tough conversations, I want to get directly at some of those underlying issues today and talk to you about money. Why give? Why give to We Stories? Why are we asking you to do that? Fundamentally, there's a lot of different organizations in our community that are worthy of philanthropic support, and much of what we do, if you've been motivated to follow us, like us, participate with us, are things that you endeavor to do on your own, to learn more about race and social justice, to show up in our community as committed citizens. So those are things you know you can do on your own, and I know for myself that those intentions drive a lot of how I spend my free time. I got a nightstand stacked with books that I intend to read. I get so many emails about all the events I could go to, but sometimes those things don't happen, right? So moving something from a nice to have to a need to do for me, and I think for many other people, is a sense that my presence matters. That's what we try to communicate to each person who engages with us at We Stories. And as individuals, the way we show ourselves and the world what our priorities are and translate our intention to action, one way that we do that is through our money. Think about all the ways you do that in your life, whether that's buying a cup of coffee or going to the gym. There are things that you could do on your own but don't, and you use money to communicate that priority. The priority I think we're all engaged in together is that we believe it's possible to fundamentally shift the landscape of family life in our region so that it tilts towards racial equity rather than reinforces patterns of segregation and disparity. And to do that, we need lots of people doing some things differently. We need to activate a goodly number of parents who can lead a strong and enduring community of learners and advocates, and we need to influence the practices of institutions that shape family life, like schools and library. And We Stories does all that thing. So to put it differently, personal learning is necessary but not sufficient to solve system level problems. And We Stories, we're a 3-year-old organization with, I think, a really exciting story and reach. We started in November of 2015, and we have reached more than 800 families to date. Just take a second to think about that with me. That's a lot of people. And those people have not stopped there at reading diverse books with their children, opening up conversations and advancing their own learning. They are, as intended, taking those experiences out of their home and into their schools, their neighborhoods, and their communities. We have dozens of alumni who are deeply engaged in racial equity work in their schools across the region. We have folks who are very active at the neighborhood level pushing for policy change, and several We Stories alumni have run for political office with racial equity platforms and won. That is so exciting. I think we know as individuals that change takes resources. I think that's just a truth that we know deep in our bones. The kind of change we're talking about takes resources. So what I'm suggesting is that while we've done a lot that's both significant and we're celebrating, we also haven't reached where we want to go. The change is not significant enough to make that lasting shift in family life in our region. That's why we ask and will continue to ask for your financial support. Giving is a habit, so I'm going to ask you to start where you are. If you're not yet giving, consider the premise of if not us, then who? If white folks are not investing in the learning and advocacy skills that they need to be more effective advocates for racial equity, who do we think is going to fund that? We believe that the community we have begun to engage has among us the resources to support the work we're trying to do. If you already give, and that's a well-worn habit for you and your family, thank you. I'm going to ask you to think about what's next for you. We hope you'll grow with us, and we strongly believe that giving begets giving. We hope to be a catalyst in how families like ours channel dollars to racial equity around our region. So whether your next step is growing how you give or broadening your portfolio, we would love to share that learning across our community. A third approach to giving is that's really important to us is to look for the and. You guys hear us talk about both and all the time. I think it's a huge part of racial justice work. Giving raises a lot of hard questions about the depth to which racism shapes charity and our social sector in this country. We live in that thorny place, and there is a lot to say about all those various issues. We really invite you to join us there. Okay, so hopefully I've convinced you that We Stories is a worthy endeavor of funding. So what am I specifically asking you to do? Well, two things. The first is, please consider giving a gift that is significant to you, whether that's $1,200 a year or $12 a month. The best way to make an enduring and ongoing commitment to We Stories is to become a page turner, and we hope you'll consider doing that. The second thing we're asking you to do is to show up and show out when demonstrating the breadth of our community really matters. One of those opportunities is coming up in just a few weeks. It's Give STL Day on May 1st, and we have an ambitious goal to engage more than 500 donors and raise more than $50,000. We hope that you'll take us up on the invitation to join us. Thank you so much for listening today. A challenge I set for myself this year is to bring my voice to our community in this way. If you liked what you saw here, please send me some love. If there's something you'd like me to talk about next, leave it in the comments.